The 1971 war for the liberation of Bangladesh is a historic and landmark campaign in the history of the world. In just 14 days, India broke Pakistan in two and we created a new nation state with the force of arms. 93,000 Pakistani prisoners laid down their arms in the largest mass surrender after the Second World War. My batch was commissioned on 14th of November 1971, just a month before that war. We were just given 10 days leave to go and see Mama and Papa, and then were pitchforked into the fighting. And on the very first night of that war, many of my batchmates were killed, some lost their legs and some lost their arms. But we are so proud that we were at the cutting edge of that war that broke Pakistan into two pieces. I am proud to state that Second Lieutenant Arun Khetrapal got the Param Veer Chakra, the highest award for gallantry in the land, by destroying 5 Pakistani patons. He laid down his life at the young age of just 21. That is what heroism is all about. Pakistan started it all by its vicious and savage crackdown on the people of Bangladesh. General Tika Khan earned the title of the Butcher of Bangladesh by his genocide. 3 million Bangladeshis were killed in the Pakistani army's crackdown. 1 million women were raped and 10 million Bangladeshis were pushed into India as refugees. This put an intolerable strain on the Indian economy. Repeatedly, we requested Pakistan to take back the refugees, but it refused. Our leaders went around the whole world requesting the world to take back these refugees and solve the crisis in Bangladesh, which Pakistan had thrust onto India, but to no avail. Our leaders tried for every chance to resolve the issue peacefully, but Pakistan simply refused to see reason. The Mukti Bahini fought back valiantly, but they were hopelessly outclassed. The Pakistanis used their jet fighters, their tanks, their artillery to try and cow them down and browbeat them. India was left with no option but to go to war. Our intelligence had penetrated the Pakistani headquarters and warned us that Pakistan was planning a massive preemptive strike on India. This strike came on the 3rd of December 1971 at last light. Waves of Pakistani fighters attacked all our forward air bases in northern India, as also from East Pakistan. The Indian Air Force was ready. That same very night, the Indian Air Force hit back with its Canberra bombers, and at first light the next day, 4th of December, waves of Indian fighter bombers, the Hunters, the Nats, the Sukhois, hit every single airfield in Pakistan and blasted it into smithereens. That very 4th of December night, the Indian Navy covered itself with glory when it hit the Pakistani home base of Karachi. The Indian Navy warships towed the new Russian missile boats to the outskirts of Karachi and launched them. They sank 6 Pakistani warships in the harbour, as also their ships carrying arms and supplies. And they put the Karachi oil farm on fire so that it burned for 1 whole week. 2 days later, the Indian Navy came back and hit the Karachi airport once again. This has never been done in the history of naval warfare. It was an amazing feat to hit the enemy home base and destroy, bottle up and destroy his navy there. The Indian Navy blockaded East Pakistan and cut off West Pakistan from East Pakistan entirely. Pakistan could not reinforce East Pakistan and nobody could now run away from there. They were all bottled up. The entire Pakistani army was bottled up in East Pakistan. The Indian army struck across the border. 3 of our corps attacked Dhaka from 3 directions. 2nd Corps attacked from Kolkata under the command of Lieutenant General Raina, who later became the army chief. The 33 Corps attacked from the north from Siliguri under General Thapan, and from the east from Tripura side, General Saga Singh launched the attack with his 4 Corps towards Dhaka. Our columns raced on relentlessly. The Pakistanis had put up a forward defense of strong points. We bypassed them all as per a strategy of the expanding torrent that bypasses all centers of resistance and heads for the core, the capital city of Dhaka. We advanced 550 kilometers into East Pakistan. From the east, General Sagat Singh used helicopters to bounce the major rivers of Bangladesh, especially Meghna, which was 6 to 8 kilometers wide, and relentlessly they moved towards the capital city of Dhaka, which was the heart of the Pakistani Empire in the east. It was at this stage that General Jacob launched his offensive from the north directly onto Dhaka. The Indian Para Brigade launched one of its battalions at Tangel to cut off all retreating Pakistani soldiers that were coming back from the borders to help defend Dhaka, and Dhaka was now totally cut off and ready for capture. On the penultimate days of the war, on the 14th of December, the Indian Air Force received intelligence that the Pakistani High Command was holding a major conference in the Governor House at Dhaka, and General Niazi and the Governor Adam Malik would be there. 4 of our MiG-21s took off and they attacked the Governor's house at Dhaka with pinpoint attack by rockets. The whole roof was blown off and the people in that hall narrowly escaped death. General Niazi started sobbing like a child. That pindi mein baithe haramzadon ne mara diya. That was, their morale was totally shattered. The high command of East Pakistan had completely collapsed. That was the time when Richard Nixon, who hated India, sent in the American 7th Fleet to try and save Pakistan. It was too little, too late. The Russian nuclear submarines started shadowing this 7th Fleet armada as it headed into the Bay of Bengal. And then on the 16th morning, General Jacob, who later became the Eastern Army commander, took a helicopter and flew into Dhaka. He landed there with the air of a conqueror. He went in a jeep to the Pakistani military headquarters in Dhaka and he bullied Niazi into accepting a surrender. Niazi had agreed to a ceasefire, but it was General Jacob who personally went at great personal risk and bullied Niazi into a surrender at 4 o'clock the same evening. Despite China, despite America, the United States of America trying to help Pakistan, the whole Eastern Command of the Pakistan Army in the East surrendered their arms. 93,000 Pakistani soldiers surrendered in one of the largest mass surrender ceremonies of the world. It was a classic tri-service campaign, the like of which has not been seen earlier. It is called a textbook campaign and it is still studied in the academies of all the armies of the world. The heroes of this campaign were primarily the 3 service chiefs, Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw, who provided very charismatic leadership. There was also the Bulldog Navy Chief, Admiral Nanda, who masterminded the attack on Karachi Harbour, and it was the highly competent Air Chief, Air Marshal P.C. Lal, who led the Indian Air Force in these stellar operations. The Indian Air Force had gained complete mastery of the skies in Bangladesh and was the key facilitator of this magnificent victory. One must also duly note the great contribution of General Jacob, who was the mastermind and the chief strategist of this war, as also the Director General Military Operations, General Inder Gill. One of India's greatest field commander to emerge from this war was Lieutenant General Saga Singh, who led the attack of 4 corps onto Dhaka from the east and who very innovatively used helicopters to bounce the wide rivers of Bangladesh. It was a just war. It was a dharma yuddha based upon justice, just like the Mahabharata was a dharma yuddha. It again, revived the Indian concept of a just war. We tried everything to attain peace. Just like in the Mahabharata, Shri Krishna had gone so many times to Duryodhan to beg for peace, but only when he refused and there was no option left did we take recourse to war. So we waited 8 long months after the Pakistani crackdown in Bangladesh, but we undertook this war as a last resort. We once again actualized the Kautilyan paradigm of war: prepare slowly, attack fast. Attack in a manner that shatters the enemy. The Kautilyan Mauryan army used to use elephants in the mass to create shock and awe. India used air power to create shock and awe. I have told you how the Governor House in Dhaka was bombed to stun the Pakistani High Command and to destroy their morale. Their morale had collapsed. Their will to fight had been collapsed. It was very brilliant planning. It was India at its best and highest civilizational point of glory. It marked a revival of Indian military arms. It marked a renaissance of Indian military power. The Bangladesh war came at a great price. We lost 105 officers, 159 JCOs and 3,469 very brave men. Unfortunately, we in India have a habit of winning the wars but losing the peace. We lose on the diplomatic bargaining tables what our soldiers have won for us at great cost on the battlefields. So let's take a look at what happened in the aftermath of the 1971 war. India, within a month of its great victory, withdrew from Bangladesh and we let Bangladesh take charge of its own territory. We did not try and impose ourselves there like the Pakistanis had. That was the magnificent level of India's altruism. We helped the people of Bangladesh, and once they were free, we left them free to rule as they wanted to rule their own country. All the 93,000 Pakistani prisoners of war were given back. All 93,000 prisoners of war. Whereas Pakistan held on to 59 of our prisoners of war, whom they refused to acknowledge that they had captured. They were tortured to death, and many of them are still rotting in Pakistani jails and have gone mad. Bangladesh wanted to try some 150 Pakistanis as war criminals, but despite that, India gave them back. We should have taught these people a lesson so that they did not again inflict such tortures on unarmed people. It was Nuremberg trials were held after the Second World War, but no such war crimes trials were held for Pakistani generals who had done worse than possibly some of the Nazis. The other fact is, civilizationally, what have we gained? Unfortunately, once again, there are a lot of elements within Bangladesh which have turned very hostile to India. The people who had sided with the Pakistani army had taken charge in Bangladesh. One of the biggest problems we have with Bangladesh is the problem of illegal infiltration into India. In 2004, there were 1.2 crore illegal Bangladeshis entering India from Bangladesh side. In 2016, this had gone up to 2 crore illegal immigrants. Now, this is causing a severe distortion in the demographic balance of our sensitive border states like Assam and like Bengal. In some districts of Assam, there has been a total inversion of the population ratio, and the illegal refugees or immigrants from Bangladesh have now totally outnumbered the indigenous Hindu population of these areas. The other very sad fact is the atrocity being committed on the Hindu minority in Bangladesh. Out of the 3 billion Bangladeshis killed in the 1971 war by the Pakistani army, 80% were Hindus. 80%, almost 2.4 million out of these 3 million were Hindus. The other sad fact is that the overall population of minorities has come down from 13.5% to 8.5%. This is a very sad commentary on the treatment being given out to the minorities. You know, there is the familiar cases of the abduction of young girls and their forced conversion. And you know, recently when there were the riots based upon the cartoon on Prophet Muhammad in France, the brunt had to be borne by the Hindu minority in Bangladesh. Their houses were torched, they were killed, they were murdered at the drop of a hat. Atrocities take place against the Hindus of Bangladesh, whereas the sad fact is that India has done so much to help this country be rid of the tyranny of Pakistan and to become a free country. We stopped their genocide, and it is such a sad travesty that today we have to face atrocities at the hands of the very same people we helped to liberate. Another very serious and disturbing problem is the so-called concept of Greater Bangladesh. These illegal immigrants are being pushed into the border states of West Bengal, Assam and Tripura to completely alter the demographic balance of these states and Islamize them and create an Islamic majority so that they will become one day part of Bangladesh itself. Thank you so much for your patient listening to this great narrative of our military victory in Bangladesh, a historic and landmark victory, the victory of truth, the victory of justice. This is Major General G.D. Bakshi for Upwards.